bravefathers.com.
Welcome to the Brave Fathers Show. And now, the prophecy.
Yes, we are back here. Why are so many depressed? Are they depressed? Are modern men depressed? We hear every day about the loneliness epidemic. We hear other people complaining that dating is ruined. And there seems to be an ever more feisty gender war online as well. Are those connected? What's going on? My name is John Paul from bravefathers.com. And today we are going to look at the phenomenon or the apparent phenomenon of male depression, men choosing to end their lives. It seems to be more and more prevalent. And it looks like there are a lot of injustices against men that are affecting their emotional state, our emotional state as men. So, are modern men depressed? The thing that inspired me to really ask this question today is my own experience and noticing that the fathers I've worked with have a very similar experience, which is for a very long time they have felt inadequate and not good enough. They felt like they fell in society. They have felt like they're not getting what they want out of society. They are not being valued for who they are. Many men get blindsided by a divorce or a breakup or the woman they're with cheating on them. And in general, there seems to be lack of support. So I want to look into to those things today. Obviously, comment what you think. I want to know what you believe, what you think, how you see things, whether you are affected, whether you think it's true or not. But I have to warn you up front, you will not like everything that I say today because I generally try to present my own view, not just follow the mainstream narratives, either from the men's side or the women's side or society's side. I don't want to be part of the gender war. I don't want to be part of the manosphere. I don't want to be part of women's movements. I don't want to be part of anything. I just want to express who I am without having to belong to any of these groups, including Red Pill, because I don't agree with a lot of the things they say. So I'm not siding with women and I'm not siding with men. And that is an important element that I'll come back to later on because it's an important part of tackling the issue of male depression. But I realized that from childhood, I've had some issues emotionally, and I've traced them back and looked at the reasons. And I think the main reason is I witnessed and experienced a lot of traumatic events when I was growing up, and I've seen quite a bit of violence, quite a bit of injustices as well, mistreatments and so forth. So those affected me on the emotional level. And also, I didn't know it then, but there was a lot of times where things would happen in school, and the girl involved, let's say if I had an argument with a girl, I didn't understand then, and I do now, why the teachers would tend to side with the girl. I was like, well, she's wrong. She's doing something she shouldn't do. And my anger was essentially interpreted as me being wrong even more, right? And it used to frustrate me. I didn't understand why until I grew up, and then I was like, oh, there's this gender war thing going on. And some people take it too far, right? Because they believe in it. I think it's bullshit. I think it's a fake war. I think it's just essentially people manipulating society and bitter members of the society fighting each other, but then everybody else is a casualty or collateral damage. But nonetheless, that experience affected me and it affects a lot of guys, I've realized. And then when you grow up as a man, you may face false accusations, right? So if you are going through family courts like I have, you inadvertently, inevitably, you will face some kind of accusations in almost every situation, right? Even if you don't face false accusations, there'll be an attempt to assassinate your character to make you look worse than you are. So a lot of these things affected me more than I realized. And at the time, I was drinking sometimes a bit more than I should have, you know. I've never considered myself an alcoholic. I don't know if I am or I'm not. I haven't had alcohol in a few months now. I don't think I've drunk anything this year, and last year I stopped drinking for a while for several reasons. I've not given up on alcohol, but I was drinking more than I should have, and I noticed that I was drinking more than I should have. Whereas before I used to only drink on weekends, and you know, perhaps sometimes every now and then I drink during the week if I was off or had holidays or a break. But then I found myself drinking every day, and I was drinking a lot of beer. I'm gonna have a beer with you soon on the show when I get back into drinking. Like I said, I've not given up on alcohol, but I've not been drinking in a while because I don't have time to drink. Right? I like to drink, but I don't have time to drink. And obviously, consuming alcohol is one thing, but then you get tired, you get sleepy, and stuff like that. And I don't have time for that now. When I do, trust and believe, I'll have a drink. But needless to say, I was drinking too much. So drinking too much led me to basically the emergency ward, right? Because I was drunk. Like I I was drinking in a way that could end it all for me. I was drinking really at that time, and part of the reason was I couldn't handle some of the lies that were being told about me in court. But it wasn't the lies that really got to me. It was the judges that were unjust, and I tried to deal with them, and there was still the judges themselves were lying. In the long run, right? It took a couple of years to prove that I was right from the beginning, so I was vindicated. But I think it was a shock to see that the justice system would be outright lying, like the people that you trust with your life, your family's life, your children's life, that they would lie. I couldn't handle that. But long story short, um, I was recommended to several what's it called remedies to deal with the issue, and then I ended up in the mental health kind of intervention, right? Because of the way I was drinking and the way my mind state was at the time. And they did recommend going on medication. So I had to speak to my doctor, and the doctor decided that, yeah, it would make sense or it would be reasonable to go on medication. Gave me some insight into how it works, and I essentially said no. And then another time they said it again, I said no. And to today, I've not agreed to taking medication. The last time I saw my doctor, he did mention that, that's still on the table if I think that will help the issue. So I thought about it and I said, I don't believe that all the issues we are facing as men can't be solved without the systemic change, right? I believe that a lot of the things that are happening are to push people onto medication, to push people away from each other. And even if that was not the intention in the beginning, that is the effect. So obviously, the people who profit from it would make the argument or would push the agenda so that more people end up on medication. So then we have men, right? We have lots of men who traditionally we tend to be more laid back about our emotions. We don't like to express our emotions too much, unnecessarily. And of course, there are exceptions. And then when we do express our emotions, it's not necessarily accepted. And you may not agree with me, but I don't really have a problem with that for the most part. The reason being is not everybody is worthy of knowing what you feel and think. So a lot of people want their girlfriends or wives to listen or to be there for them. But I argue that those women, in most cases, are not properly vetted. They're not carefully chosen, and they may contribute to your depression with their behavior. Now, I'm not saying to blame them because it's not their responsibility, just like it's not your responsibility to make them happy. I don't agree with that narrative either. But if you are with somebody who doesn't fully value you, who doesn't respect you, who doesn't cherish you as a man, you will feel bad. You will feel bad. I think depression is essentially a state of melancholy where you feel a sense of hopelessness, you don't feel valued, you don't feel important, you don't feel validated, right? But what I've discovered over time is that you can actually make yourself feel better without the help of anybody outside, which is what I decided to do. And of course, it's not easy, it's very difficult. But over time, I came to a conclusion that when it comes to myself, I prefer to deal with these problems. Of course, when I want help, I ask for them, for the help, but I prefer to deal with most of the problem myself. Why? Because it came down to basically three things. One, how I felt, so it's my feelings, right? The actual external circumstances in which I find myself, and then the people, right? So if, let's say I take a pill, and by the way, this is no medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Seek qualified medical advice and speak to your doctor about your own thing. I'm telling you my experience of what happened to me. And none of what I say is also legal advice, right? Because you need to speak to a qualified legal advisor, to a lawyer, solicitor, an attorney, whatever it is where you are, who can advise you properly on law, and of course, speak to a qualified medical professional. And call an emergency service if you feel your life is threatened right now. In most places, the number is 911. In other places, 999. But I don't know. Don't quote me for it, right? I have no responsibility for that. I am just sharing my experience. So my experience is that it came down to three things: what I feel, the external circumstances, and then the people involved, which you could argue are part of the external circumstances, but not necessarily. So usually when we feel bad, we like to have someone we can talk to, so that would be the people, about the circumstances that affect us, right? We want somebody to essentially listen to us, validate our feelings, and give us some kind of advice or just be there for us, right? Have a sip. Lemon and ginger tea. That's what I'm drinking. So I realized that when I didn't get support from people, my feelings intensified. But then I asked myself, if these are my feelings, why does it matter what other people think about it? Because if I'm to be honest, I'm not necessarily spending all day thinking about their feelings, right? They're thinking about their feelings, I'm thinking about mine, and I'm looking for external validation. And so, even though I would argue that it's right for people like family and friends to be there for you, I would also say that there's a limit to what they can do, even if they want to. So it still will come down to you. And when I saw a therapist, I also realized the same thing. Like, what is the therapist really going to do for me? Yes, the therapist, in my case, was able to point to some things to look at, some things that I didn't notice, some things that I didn't realize, ask me some hard questions, get me to confront myself. But essentially, it's me confronting myself that led to progress. So I don't need a therapist to confront myself. I can just do it. Now, I was in despair at a point in time, and I couldn't find direction. I found like I had no sense of reality that I could ground myself in, right? So everything was very disorienting to me. I was literally confused, like confused about the whole world. And I wanted somebody to step in, stop it, maybe shake me out of it, and just help me to face the emotions I was feeling and make sense of reality. But nothing was coming. Nobody was coming to save me. So I felt myself sinking. I felt myself feeling bad. But I said to myself, that's not me. That's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not the creature that is going to go down so easily. Right? And I said to myself, one step at a time, I must get out of this state that I am in. I must find a way. So So one of the things when I was feeling depressed that has helped me was I realized that sometimes when I'm unhappy is because I think I'm supposed to be unhappy. So let's say I lost some business assets that I had worked so hard to get and I lost them. Traditionally, you're supposed to be sad, right? Because you lost it. And I realized that part of me was only sad because I thought I was expected to be sad, right? So if I wasn't sad, people would not help me because they'll be like, oh, you're happy, right? Because I needed help. And then people would think you're crazy, you lost X, Y, and Z. Like, why are you just happy? Why are you having fun? It means you really don't care. And the society is such that when you're happy, people think you don't need help. So I realized that part of my state was really, you could argue, a cry for help, but in a way that I didn't need it, that I didn't need that help because I could do it myself. I just didn't feel like I could, but I could. And I didn't see it, but I could. And frankly, I didn't want to some degree, because I wanted someone to take care of me, but I could do it. I could do it. And this is not to say you don't need help or I didn't need any help. What I'm saying is, if there is, let's say, from 1 to 100, you could literally do, in my case, 80% yourself. 80% I could do myself. So I didn't need that PT, assistant, or sympathy, validation, approval from other people. And the fact that things were bad didn't mean that I couldn't be happy, that I couldn't find reasons to be grateful for the life I have. I couldn't find reasons to be grateful for what I've got. So that helped me to start climbing out of it. And little by little, I've been moving forward because some of it still affects me today, right? At the same time, when they tell me, to go on medication personally, and they tell me, the side effects, this and that, the other, I'm like, why do I need to be on pills when the problems in my life that make me sad or that I feel sad about are not caused by pills, right? What's the difference between that and drinking? What's the difference between that and smoking some weed, right? Which I'm not saying anybody should do. I'm just asking these questions. What's the difference between me talking to a therapist and me talking to myself? And again, I'm not discounting the value of therapy. But when I read, books and I talk to people and I listen to people, I realize that a lot of it is just pushed on us, but doesn't help. Now, when it comes to the things that are unjust, the unfairness that is used towards men, and I do believe a lot of it is systemic, but even though it is systemic, we cannot look at it from just the rational level. Like the system is doing X, therefore I must respond to Y. So for example, a lot of people do it like, oh, the women are allowed to, let's say bad things about men. So I should be allowed to be saying bad things about women, like we should. But we can't just be reactive to those things. We can't be reactive to the system because that gives the system fuel and that gives the system ammunition to use against us. So I think a lot of us are depressed or feeling down because we are not seeing the society reflect the value that we give to society. The society is not providing us with the same respect and value and effort that we as men put into society, right? The society is looking at us and just basically using us and then discarding us. And after we act on good faith to contribute to society, we then have to face, false accusations, lies, being demonized in the media, being held accountable for other men's crimes. You see, and I don't agree with that approach either for men or for women. So if a man commits a crime, that has nothing to do with me. If a woman commits a crime, that has nothing to do with me. Is that adult who chose to commit a crime. So I don't see why I should be policing other men for any kind of crime because I don't care about it. It's not that, I don't want the society to be better. But frankly, I have other things to think about. I have to prevent crime coming to me. You know, there's this famous lie that is always spread like, oh, men feel confident walking at night and women don't. And every man knows, like, no, when you're at night, you're extra vigilant because you know something bad could happen to you. You're also worried for your life. You know that you could be attacked at any moment. You avoid certain streets, you avoid certain alleys because you know you could be in danger. So it's not true, but it's a lie that is being spread. And things like that could drive you crazy. They could drive you crazy. And things like that may make you feel depressed if you focus on them, right? My contention is this, that the system is not going to change. So we have to figure out ways to still thrive regardless of the system. That's my position. When it comes to family courts, men are screwed all the time. And my observation is that the courts will manipulate things, or the people who advise the courts will manipulate the evidence and things so that the woman gains favor. People are afraid of harsh punishments on women or just punishing women in general. We all know women get lighter sentences, right? For the same crime as a man would get. So we all know that that's unfair. By the way, comment, share your views. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Give me your experience too. We are all here to learn from each other and to understand this topic because I believe we must find a way forward. I have no intention of living my life feeling sad, feeling sorry for myself, feeling depressed. I don't want to live that way. And if the world will not change, I will change because I don't want to live that way. I have good things to offer the world and I want to be able to do them. I have talents, I have ideas, I have dreams, I have people I care for, I have people who care about me. So I want to be able to participate in all that. Now, speaking of people who care, another thing that I think men face, and I face that as well, is people turning your back on you when things go wrong. And that includes close family, wives, girlfriends, best friends, sisters, brothers, and so forth, even parents, right? So a lot of men feel isolated because the people who are closest to them turn their backs on them. And that is something that I think most women can't fathom because they usually find somebody to give them attention one way or the other, right? All they need to do is cry and somebody will come to console them. I'm not saying they don't have their problems, but I'm just saying that men don't have the same privilege from the society. And yet, as time goes on, I realize all the people who turned their back on me, at the end of the day, I don't need them. Like all this showed me, all the negative things that have happened have showed me that I didn't need all of them or most of them. Now, does that stop me from feeling sad or depressed about it? No. But does it help to get over it? Yes, over time it does. Over time it does. And so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the real solution really is for men to gain their power back. When I say gain their power back, I don't mean power over other people. I think the most important thing we need right now as men is autonomy and accepting that we have autonomy even in a system that makes us feel bad or looks down on us. I think we should find ways to thrive regardless of external circumstances because things may be hard and things are hard for many of us, right? One of the fathers that I observed online, spoke about how he was living in his car, and and I've seen worse conditions than that, like when you don't even have a car to sleep in, when you have nothing, and I know what that's like. So there's no denying that the world is harsh on us. At the same time, we have power to overcome those things. It's like when somebody punches you in the face, and let's say they break your nose or something, and they run away. Your instinct might be to chase them. But the question is, in that circumstance, Is it worth chasing them, or is it more important to, you know, make sure your nose is taken care of because you're bleeding, right? If someone hurts you, I'm not saying allow people to violate your boundaries, but often it's better to take care of ourselves first and foremost. So let's say, like in my case, when I lost, I keep talking about it because it really got to me, the business assets after all the things went wrong, I realized, wait a minute, that also gives me an opportunity to build a different kind of business that I actually enjoy, that I'm passionate about, that I care about, where I want to help people and I can make a living doing it. So as much as I loved what I built, another opportunity opened. And that helped to deal with the depression because now I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could see there was an opening where I thought there was no way through. And sometimes, as Marcus Aurelius said, sometimes the obstacle becomes the way. Sometimes, really, the obstacle becomes the way. You learn by moving forward, even when the thing is coming at you. So, when we feel pain, for example, that's one of the biggest things that I noticed. That when I allowed the pain to fully process itself, to go through its full cycle, even to the degree where I thought I was not going to make it out of the pain, like that's how intense it got. But anytime it subsides, I'm like, wow, I noticed something new about my life that I could make better, even if nothing else changes. And I noticed that those emotions didn't bother me anymore. So it takes time, it's not easy, and it's hard. Pause. That's what she said. And it's difficult. It really is difficult. The point is, don't let the world fool you into thinking that you can't be happy without the world changing, right? You saw my video recently when I was criticizing Paul Elam, who said you should think that every woman that you come across essentially hates you and wants to destroy you, right? Now, if I missed some of the words, forgive me, but the post is there, the video is there. And I made a very open critique about it because if you're already feeling bad, if you're already hurt by a woman, you don't need to start thinking that every woman hates you because the reality is that's not true. But I think a lot of the messages that we hear push us deeper into depression. A lot of messaging that we experience as men basically drive us crazy because we don't know what's true, what's not. And it's so easy to close yourself these days, right? Close yourself up. You have your phone, you have your tablets, you have your computer, you have your games and so forth. It's so easy to close yourself and isolate yourself from the world. And I think really a lot of the things that are recommended as solutions make the problem worse. It's like my favorite example from a horror movie, one of my favorite horror movies, Skeleton Key. If you've not seen it, cover your ears because I'm going to give a spoiler. But what happened was that the solution that the person thought was going to save her was actually the thing that was going to be the trap. So imagine you are given a blueprint to your escape, but literally it is the blueprint that's going to entrap you. So I think for us men to seek women's approval and validation and support, I think that's counterproductive because that tells men we can't handle our own problems, that we need a female to nourish us. We don't. Now, a lot of us didn't have the love that our mother should have given us, right? So when that happens, you end up feeling deficient, or you may be underdeveloped in that aspect that the mother would have nourished you and nurtured you, right? The same way those of us who didn't have the fatherly love also didn't develop the things that we would if the father was there, right? So it's easy for us to say, oh, this woman didn't have a father, so she's acting this way. But how about those of us who didn't have a mother? And that doesn't mean the mother was not present in your life, but she didn't really mother you. She wasn't nourishing, she wasn't caring, she wasn't loving, she wasn't warm. And many of us have experienced that. So my point is that depression could have so many causes, so many roots. But then if we seek a woman to take away that depression, now we become powerless to that woman. And a lot of men are. A lot of men feel without them, their wife or girlfriend, that they are nothing. And a lot of people think a woman is what gives them status in society. I know I used to think that way when I was much, much, much younger. I used to think that. I thought my girlfriend is what made me worthwhile. So even when I was not happy with her, I stayed because I thought without her, I was nothing in society, right? So obviously that was not true. And I realized it was the other way round. I was the one who was giving her actually status because I was always moving things, always doing something, always making something happen, you know. I've always been quite popular among people. So she was benefiting from that. And I'm not saying I wasn't benefiting from her, but it wasn't a thing where she made me worth something. And a lot of guys think that. So now, if we didn't get the nourishment from our mothers, right, the way we should have, for whatever reason, our instinct would be to seek another female to replace that. Now, it's understandable, but let's consider whether that's just a reaction of someone who didn't get the emotional nourishment he needed, right? Or whether it's something that is supposed to happen. Because I would argue that a lot of the things that are becoming normal in today's society is simply the trend of the society. But that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it effective. Effectiveness is important. So an example is scrolling through videos. It's seen as normal these days, right? Nobody's going to say you have a problem. But if you've seen those days when the internet first became popular, there used to be a thing about internet addiction, right? The early people who got addicted to the internet, it was a thing, right? But now everybody is doing it. The same like drinking. A lot of people drink too much, like I was drinking too much, but it's normal. It's not abnormal to drink a lot these days, right? As long as you have your job, you take care of your bills, whatever, nobody's gonna really see it as you're hurting yourself. There they will say, you know, you should cut down your drinking, whatever, your doctor may complain, but it's normal. The same way people isolating themselves, not dating anymore, right? Like people think, like I still go out, I still go out to meet women. Like, I'm not the kind to settle down with one woman. That's not my style. And I intend to be meeting women for a while, for a long time, probably for the rest of my life. So my perspective is also different. I don't agree that dating is ruined. I agree that the perception of dating is ruined, 100%, 100%. But whether dating is ruined or not, I can't agree with it. And the reason why I can't agree with it is that years ago, right, over 10 years ago, I used to help men as a dating coach. And almost every single complaint that we have today is the same complaint people had. When I did my research and I looked at, you know, material from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was still the same complaint about dating. You know, that women want this, women are that. Some of it is just men and women not understanding each other, because we often underestimate how much effort it takes to really date. Dating is work. Like, dating is not easy. But I think why people think dating is ruined is that because we can swipe, they think it should be as easy as swiping. Like, this is what people think. I should be able to go online. I should be able to go online, swipe for a little bit, get a few matches, go on dates, meet the perfect woman for me, and then live happily ever after. That's not how it works. It has never worked that way. It never will. People have this fantasy of, oh, in the olden days, you know, you ask the father's hand, blah, blah, blah. Listen, those are the stories we think are true, but they are not true. Yes, there was a custom of that, especially in the wealthy families, but that doesn't mean people are not sleeping around. Read old novels, read old stories. None of these things are new. Even in the Bible, we have people cheating. We have people cheating on kings, women cheating on kings, and so forth. So it's nothing new, really. But the problem is, if men are put down, right, from a very young age, so their self-esteem is affected, now they don't have the confidence to deal with women. And confidence is the primary thing that you need with women. People say, oh, that's bullshit, but that's because they don't know what confidence is. Why don't they know what confidence is? Because from childhood, men are told not to be confident directly and indirectly. We are told, to make way for the woman. Let her win. Like, why? Why should the 12-year-old girl win over the 12-year-old boy? Why should that be? Right? And so because of that, a lot of males don't have the experience they need to actually select women properly. And women do take advantage of that. I'm not going to deny that. And I say these things because, like I said in the beginning, I don't take the side of men, I don't take the side of women. I take the side of fathers in my project, but really it's because of the children, because we, the fathers, are the ones who can change the lives of our children, of the future generations. But it is not a fight against mothers. It's not a fight against women. It's a fight for something. It's not a fight against another thing, even though the internet will try to convince you otherwise. And I think that's another reason why men are depressed, because anytime a man complains about something online, straight away, oh, but women have it worse, right? Which I don't agree with. On the flip side, I'm saying that we as men can start isolating ourselves from that gender war mentality. I think that's good for our emotional state. I think that's really good to isolate ourselves. Like now, when people engage me, once it becomes an ad hominem attack, people start attacking me rather than the topic at hand, I cut it short because I realize it's pointless. There are certain posts I'll just not comment on because they are just poison. Certain things are just poison. And if you're already in a bad emotional state, there's no reason to be part of the poison. Now, the male loneliness thing, it exists, but not the way I think people describe it. Because an argument can be made that if men are lonely, they can be friends with each other. I agree with that. But I think when we talk about male loneliness, what we are really talking about, if we are honest, is lack of female companionship, right? Lack of that intimate, romantic, sexual, emotional bond that you can only have with a woman as a heterosexual man. So, by the way, make sure you comment, share your views, let me know what you think. If you agree, tell me in the comments. If you disagree, let me know also in the comments. I'll answer all comments as best as I can. So the other side of dating is that it can feel painful, especially when you keep getting rejected, right? So a lot of guys get depressed because, let's say, you get divorced or you break up after many years, you have kids, and then you go out there and you realize, whoa, I'm not really getting anything out of this dating thing. And then again, the conclusion often is, oh, dating is ruined. I would say that it's more of a thing of you are out of practice. And yes, there is an element of women being a bit more entitled these days, but there is no shortage of women who also be nice and kind when you approach them, right? So I would say if, let's say, a man is feeling depressed because he can't find a female companion, I would say to take it step by step as well. I would say, look, you have to be clear on what you want, right? You have to be clear on your expectations. Because when society puts pressure on men as well to think they have to impress the woman, I think that also affects the man's psyche negatively. And a lot of men wrongly believe they have to impress the woman. That's not true. If a woman doesn't like you, yes, you have to impress her. If she doesn't see you as, wow, I really like him, of course, you have to impress her because she's not really that interested. A lot of the things that people say is like, oh, if you don't have a lot of money or looks or status, you see, and I know people don't like it when I say this, but I have to say it, like, the guys I've known who are the most successful with women are not the tallest, they're not the richest, definitely not the well-built, guys that we see in movies. And again, like I said before, dating is not easy. It's difficult. It's difficult not because women are bad, it's because it's difficult to find the right person. Imagine for a second that you were not looking to date, but you just wanted to find a best friend, like a ride or die, or a business partner. How easy would it be for you to find the right person that you trust this person, that you could run a business with them, that you are equally liable for the partnership as that person? So if they commit fraud, you'll be held liable because it's a partnership. How easy is it to find somebody to do that? It's not easy. It's not easy. So it's the same way that it's not easy to find the right woman. And I think that the messaging that men get, that, oh, if she doesn't like you, there's something wrong with you. Like, I see a lot of bullshit advice. If she doesn't want to sleep with you, referring to a wife, it means you are not exciting her enough. That's not necessarily true. Most likely, it's not true. Like, that pressure that society puts on us, we then put on ourselves. But once you start going out more, you realize that, wait a minute, if she doesn't like me, okay, she doesn't like me. She's missing. She's the one who's missing. Sorry, missing out. She's missing out on me because I know my value, I know my worth, and I know there's somebody else who is interested in me. And I know when you're in a state of depression or you're feeling sad or you're feeling lonely, it's very difficult to think that way. It's very difficult. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible because it feels like the world is against you. It feels like nobody loves you, nobody wants you, nobody cares, and everybody's just looking down on you. I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like. And then the societal pressure makes it worse. It makes it worse. And then nobody teaches you that as a man, your masculinity protects you and will save you, right? We're only taught to feel value about ourselves in relation to how women and the society benefits from us. But one thing that has also helped me with depression, and is very important, and I think I mentioned coming back to it today, is that you have to do a lot of it for yourself, not even for your children, not for your wife, not or your ex or your future wife, your girlfriend, your mother, your father, your friends, the society. You have to do a lot of things just for yourself. You have to learn how to be selfish. And when I say selfish, I don't mean go out there to take advantage of people. When I say selfish, what I mean is do it for yourself. Do the things that fit with your character, right? So a lot of my depression was there was a time I wanted to get new instruments, right? Like, guitars and stuff like that. And I felt bad because I said, oh, but I have to work on my business. When will I have time to be playing guitar? When will I have time to be studying music? And I have kids to feed. I have this to do, that to do. What entitles me to taking an hour or 2 or 3 or 4, if I choose to, every day just for myself, to enjoy my music, to enjoy doing what I do? And then I'd go deeper into the depression because everything I was doing for other people, to please other people. And it was like a hamster wheel. It was like the rat race. It was like just constantly feeling empty and worthless. And then I said to myself, no, I can't be treating myself that way. No matter how bad things are, I'm still a man. I'm still alive. I'm still walking on this planet. I'm still worth something to me, to myself. I don't need anybody else to agree with me or like me or even love me or even respect me for what I want for myself. But that will not change the fact that I want it. So I went ahead and I bought my instruments. And that changed a lot as well. I started feeling better about myself. I started feeling good. You have to do things for yourself, whatever it is, no matter how useless other people think it is, no matter if they tell you, oh, you're too old for this. No. No, 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 no. Don't allow society to control your mind. You have to figure out how to live the way that works best for you. You have to figure out, as a man, what you find worthwhile, what's important to you, what matters to you, and how you're going to get it. Accept that it will be difficult. Accept that there will be some backlash. Accept that some people will turn against you. Some people will live your life forever, including people you've known your whole life from birth. Some will abandon you, or they'll just leave you. They'll let go of you. But don't let that phase you from doing the right thing for yourself. Because I think a lot of the depression that men feel is because they are following society, because they're trying to live up to society standards, which nobody can live up to. And instead of looking inside at ourselves as men and say, what do I want? How do I want to live? We buy into society's bullshit. And then we buy into the lie that if we satisfy what society wants from us, we'll be rewarded with love, sex, and companionship from women. That's bullshit. Society does not dispense women. There isn't a department in the government where you fill a form, an application, and tick all the boxes that you've done what's required of you in society, and the clerk goes into a cupboard and pulls out a beautiful, lovely, sexy woman that's just right for you and hands it to you, saying, "Thank you, sir, for your service. Here's your woman." No, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. So that's why when you hear of, what's his name? Is it Robin Williams, the actor who ended it, right? People argue he had everything, but did he? Did he? He did what the society wanted. He made people laugh. He wore the dress, right? Mrs. Doubtfire. He did all that. But in the end, it still wasn't enough. Because there's nothing outside of you that can fulfill you. All the things that we need from outside are to support us, yes, to survive. We need food, we need shelter, we need clothes, and so forth. We do need companionship. But those things are not the things that ultimately give you your personal power as a man. We all like our solitude sometimes, don't we? Just to be by ourselves, not to talk to anybody, not to listen to anybody, not to hear anybody. We just want to be on our own. We love that. We need that because we know our power as men comes from inside. And it's not the society's validation that makes you a man. A lot of people believe that, and I think that's why they are depressed. Excuse me, and I used to believe that too. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you disagree or do you agree? We cannot have a situation where we live our lives trying to be what society wants us to be. Forgive me, let me just check this quickly. We cannot have a situation where we live our whole lives disrespecting ourselves by giving up our dreams, our desires, our wishes for other people, because that is respect to how you've been created, to who you are. And a lot of us have spent our lives that way. I've not yet seen the movie Michael. He was the world's greatest entertainer, but he had a very miserable life. We all know a lot of his life was miserable, painful life. And the question is why? Was that what he was supposed to be? Was he the sacrifice for the world? You know, you don't have to sacrifice yourself for the world. That's my point. I can't remember who it was I was arguing with about this recently. But a lot of people think that a man's worth comes from his sacrifice. No, it doesn't. So who sacrifices himself for the man? Who's sacrificing himself or herself for you? And if we are all sacrifices, does it not make more sense to take care of ourselves so we can give more to others? We have a world full of abundance. How do we know? We destroy a lot as well, and we still have a lot more. Right? With all the wars going on, all the men dying in those wars, and the women and the children, but men being sent to cause destruction and to be destroyed. What's the point? You know, it's almost like we are devalued for the benefit of those who don't have to suffer the same burdens as we do. So it makes sense that a lot of people feel depressed. I'm saying let's not get stuck in that depression. I'm saying let's value ourselves as men. I'm saying let's stop the sacrifice for others and start the sacrifice for ourselves. So whatever it is you dream of doing or creating for yourself, find a way to do it, not for anybody else, only for you. When you have fruits of that labor that you've done for yourself, I'm very sure you will share with other people. I'm sure you're generous and giving and kind and compassionate, and you do your best to help others. But the point is to have more so you can give more, not to have less so that you are limited. And I used to think that way too. You know, when I was back in the days when I was in boarding school, I was so naive, and people used to come anytime there was like visiting day. My father would bring me lots of food, lots of things. And people learned that, oh, I would give out a lot of the stuff. And I thought, yeah, if I shared, people would share with me. And I would give away almost everything I had, thinking people would like me, people would want to be my friends, and they would do the same for me. But no, that's not what happened. They just took advantage of my generosity. And it's not like they even needed it, you know. And I like to help people. I really like to help people. But there's a difference between helping people and people just taking advantage of you. There's a difference between you helping people and people just using you, and including your children. I'm not saying be harsh on your kids for this because you know it could be misinterpreted. But what I'm saying is have time for yourself. Do things that build you up. And believe me, your children will value you more for that, especially if you can't see your kids. Unfortunately, that's painful. Yet at the time, you get to spend more time with yourself, for yourself. So what I did, you know, when the whole thing started back in the day and I couldn't see my kids at the time, I just realized I need to put time into myself, and I started doing things I like to do. Like I said, I bought my instruments, started practicing, learned new instruments that I couldn't play before, and got into writing, a lot of writing, learned a lot about writing fiction, for example. I did that for myself, but a lot of people have benefited from it. When I started helping fathers in family courts, those writing skills helped me draft very persuasive documents that have helped win cases. There's a lot of stuff that I'll be releasing, that I'll be working very hard on, that you probably enjoy. But that's because I chose to give to myself. So the same way, you need to choose to give to yourself. You need to really be clear on what you want. If you want to climb out of the depression, if you want to thrive. Because in the world where victimhood is worn like a badge of honor, it's very difficult to quit being the underdog. And it's nice being the underdog, but you get to be the underdog only once. and then you win. And when you win, you are no more the underdog. But we get addicted to the underdog status. I know I have been there. We get addicted to being the center of everybody, rooting for, everybody's cheering for you. But at some point, you need to get to a point where you expect yourself to win, not for anybody else, but for yourself, not for people to love you or respect you or cherish you or value you or to want to be around you. No, just because you want to do it. The same way, if you think you need some rest, you need to go on a holiday break, take a week off, 2 weeks off, or whatever time that you need for yourself, that's still the same. So you say, okay, you know what, I'm not doing anything. But be clear, listen, I'm not doing anything today. That's it. Right? And you give yourself that. You may need to catch up on some sleep. That's what it is. Like I said, I've not given up on my drinking. I don't drink now, but I know when the day comes, I'll take off 3 days for drinking. I don't care what anybody thinks about that. I'll buy the kind of whiskey I like. I like whiskey a lot. And I'll take 3 days where I don't have to do anything for anybody, just have fun by myself or with whoever I choose to have fun with at the time. But it's not under obligation. It's just me enjoying myself. Like that's one of my plans. You may think it's silly, but it's what I want to do, right? I like to go to movies by myself, for example. I don't like going to movies with people. I find it distracting. I find it very annoying. And I found a cinema that not a lot of people come to. So I go to that cinema. So there's not even a lot of people in the theater. Sometimes I'm the only one, even if it's a popular movie, because of where the cinema is located. And I like it. You know, it doesn't matter that nobody benefits from it apart from me. And you have to find things for yourself that way too. And if you're already doing them, stop feeling guilty. Stop feeling bad about loving yourself. Listen, society is not going to come to rescue you. Society is not going to change anytime soon. The more men are feeling depressed and lonely, the more power the negative forces gain in our society. A lot of it is such bullshit, right? People are not appreciating their lives. We are not starving, most of us. Most of us have somewhere to sleep. We have some clothes on. We are not in critical conditions. Therefore, we can find a way forward. A lot of these fights that we have online and the way men are demonized, it's just a waste of time for people to make money. But we can't feed into it. If they're intent on bringing some horrible laws, they will do it regardless. But what stops them is men being strong. Men being strong. That's what we need. We need men to be strong. Let's stop focusing on the women we don't want and let's focus on ourselves and trust that there are women you do want. That's what we need to do. We cannot continue this state of constant fear, constant depression, melancholy, sadness, lack of self-worth, lack of self-respect, waiting for society to finally say, thank you, man. Man, we appreciate you. Man, you are good. You are good. I appreciate you. I'm grateful that you are here with me having this discussion. I thank you for that because you give me strength by doing this. And I hope that some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you is helping you have a different perspective. So the whole point is, yes, I think a lot of men are depressed. I do think society puts unnecessary pressure on men. I also think that a lot of men from childhood were taught to despise being men. We are taught to despise ourselves. And that has created an emotional state that feeds into that depression. And because of that, we don't know how to deal with a lot of things, including with women. And it just creates this vicious cycle. I'm saying let's remove ourselves from it, right? Those of us who are willing, let's let go of being the underdog at some point. Let's win. Let's win. Let's get it. Let's get it. And don't let external things control your mind. You control yourself. Don't let society control you. And one more thing, I mentioned earlier that letting the emotions run the cycle is one way that has really helped me. So that really has helped me. If I felt anger or sadness or felt like crying, I'll just lock myself where nobody could see me and I'll let the emotion run to completion. That's the most powerful way I've found of dealing with my depression above anything else, above anybody else helping me. And when I have done that, I've realized that it's been easier for me to relate to people and to understand people because I wasn't needy anymore. I didn't need their validation or approval. I didn't need them to like me or even to respect me. I could remove myself from them because I knew I could take care of my own emotional needs. And everything else is extra, is a bonus. And it's worth a lot when you find the right people. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, nobody needs a Lamborghini. It's a great car to have if you like that, or a Bugatti or whatever, right? Walking still works. Taking the bus still works. I'm not saying it's the most pleasant thing. What I'm saying is we have the power and ability to rise above the circumstances and still achieve our goals, right? So I'll be sharing more about this in the coming days. Thank you so much for watching me today. My name is John Paul from bravefathers.com. If you are going through family proceedings, especially in the UK, and you need some help, get in touch with me and I will be here. So when in doubt, remember,
BraveFathers.com.